Emerson once said, "The young man reveres men of genius, because, to speak truly, they are more himself than he is." Emerson was saying that when a young person is first reading the great philosophers and thinkers, a sort of phenomenon occurs. When you are young, you may have lots of thoughts, ideas, and beliefs floating around in your head, but you probably have difficulty expressing those ideas through words. Then, once you read someone of genius who is perfectly able to convey what you're thinking about, that genius becomes more you than you are yourself in that moment. The only time this has ever happened to me was when I was listening to Gary Vaynerchuk. Gary Vee is the CEO of VaynerMedia. Gary is known for his all-day vlogs, incredible business mind, love of the New York Jets, and being a proponent of happiness. It's this last quality that shows why Gary is more than just an entrepreneur who utilizes social media. He is a philosopher. Gary is focused on people bringing happiness to the forefront of the conversation. The first time it ever occurred to me that Gary could be considered a philosopher was when I heard him discuss social media. Gary suggests that social media and technology as a whole are like a mirror. If someone goes to Twitter looking for negativity, they will find it. If they look for positivity, it is also there. The things that someone might come across on Twitter are not because social media is terrible, but because those are the types of things they want to see. Gary isn't understating the addictive nature of social media, but highlighting the kinds of things we look for when we use it. Technology being a mirror is an idea I have been thinking about for years, only in my head. One time I was asked at a lunch table in high school, "Why do you like our generation? We are too obsessed with phones." But back then, I couldn't come up with a response. Years later, I watched a video of a CEO swearing and getting fired up about how technology is a mirror. I realized that he was expressing what I had been thinking about far better than I ever could. At that moment, it was like he was more attuned to my thoughts than I was. The idea of Gary being a philosopher is not original to me. But to contextualize how Gary could be seen as a philosopher, we need to look at the definition of philosophy. Philosophy is the study of the fundamental nature of knowledge, reality, and existence, especially when considered as an academic discipline. The term fundamental nature sticks out when discussing philosophy and Gary Vee because it genuinely feels as if Gary is redefining what type of knowledge is essential. Trying to ponder if we are real or in a simulation, who created it all, and if the brain and mind are connected, do not help us in our day-to-day lives. We are trying to do the best we can to maximize the times within a day that we are happy. For Gary, that is the only focus. Looking over a wide variety of Gary's philosophical ideologies, I can identify three main aspects that can lead to happiness. Number 1, lack of judgment.
My big thing is that people's fears are predicated on other people. You're allowing other people's opinions to dictate your life.
Try not to focus on what people think of you, and as Gary puts it,
money ain't time, ain't shit of holding you back compared to your worry about other people's opinion.
if you can limit the effects of judgment from other people, then you can focus on what you truly want. Judgment also works towards yourself. Don't overjudge yourself. Everything in life ebbs and flows. Number 2, being practical.
Passion and optimism and pushing yourself, but I disproportionately believe in practicality, patience, and hard work too.
For Gary, between delusion and entitlement, you find practicality. This comes from being brutally honest with yourself. Realizing things like, maybe I lean on my parents too much, or perhaps I'm not built to be an MBA center. Number 3, perspective.
You got your perspective. I just want to be happy. Don't you want to be happy?
If something terrible happens, you can dwell on it and do nothing to fix the issue, or you can come to terms with it and work to fix it. This is way easier said than done, but by looking at the glass half full instead of half empty, your chances of fixing things skyrocket. Applying perspective and context to where you are in your life will always put you in a position to be happy. That was only a small introduction to the ideas that Gary presents. When trying to understand what his philosophy is, there's always a contradiction. For all I know, Gary doesn't completely agree with the ideas I'm putting forth in this video. But that is why it is so important to listen to his ideas. Having people interpret and try to apply a great thinker's ideals to their own lives is when philosophy reaches practicality. It is why I think Gary Vee should not only be taught in business classes, but philosophy classes as well. In the traditional sense, these concepts are not the most original and probably wouldn't be classified as a philosophy when compared to someone like Immanuel Kant or Aristotle. Where I would personally consider these to be philosophical ideas lies in how they alter the focus on what kind of knowledge is necessary. We typically view knowledge as the pursuit of as many facts and concepts as possible. But Gary focuses that pursuit inward, to ourselves. Emotional intelligence might be the most significant resource we have, and yet it is often an afterthought. Gary Vee being classified as a philosopher is a crucial step for the future of how ideas spread. In an age where information is at our fingertips, we have to reinvent how we traditionally look at knowledge. Most of our knowledge and ideas came from teachers, but the times of the traditional philosopher are well in the rearview mirror. We need to be looking at someone like Gary as seriously as Aristotle or Emerson. The study of knowledge, reality, and existence should not be tied down to the big mysteries of life, but expanded to look deep within ourselves. For me, in that moment, when it felt like Gary Vee had hijacked my brain, I was introduced to a whole new world of ideas. I felt like I could take control of my life, that my own personal philosophy was growing more clear, and the thing that I had always searched for was in view. My perspective was changing, and maximizing my own personal happiness was now my main priority. It's for these reasons that I genuinely believe Gary Vaynerchuk is a modern-day philosopher.